This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com. Not much news today. SmackDown did the same zero point 0.5 rating it does every single week. I was supposed to do an interview with MMA legend Mark Kerr earlier today, but unfortunately something came up and he's going to reschedule. We'll get it done as soon as we can with Mark Kerr in the next couple of days, hopefully, because I've had great fan feedback for that interview. So I am going to talk about Lanny Poffo today, who I've wanted to talk about because I've had a lot of fans who have asked me to speak about him lately. I'm not going to get into the big backstage thing that we had because I already did a video on that. You can go to the link in the description if you want to hear more about that backstage incident with Lanny Poffo and why we did it and the idea behind it and so forth. But I first met Lanny in 2007 at the very first Great North Wrestling event. We had a crowd of over 4,000 for that one. He wrestled Kamala on that show, and I posted that interview that match last week after I did a discussion about Kamala. Then he passed away the next day. So hopefully Lanny Poffo is not going to have the same fate as Kamala. I have a feeling Poffo is going to probably live a long time. But the one thing I remember about that first match Poffo had is we had a crowd of 4,000 fans. And I did not realize that he was planning to go out and wrestle in his bare feet. Bret Hart no-showed that event. So I was under a lot of stress. I literally invested all my money in that event. We weren't sure what kind of a crowd we were going to have. We ended up having a great crowd, but they were pissed because Bret Hart didn't come. There was still a lot of other legends there like AJ Styles, Jinder Mahal, Psycho Sid, Kamala, Poffo, Abdullah the Butcher was there, Jeff Jarrett was there, PCO was there. But I remember that it was like 5 minutes before showtime and Lanny Poffo didn't have his wrestling boots on. And I really wanted the show to start on time. And I remember telling him, your match is on in 5 minutes. And he's just sitting there against the wall in his bare feet. And I was a little annoyed with him because I thought he was going to delay the show, not having his boots on. But of course, he ended up wrestling in his bare feet. Kind of a strange guy. I was a big Macho Man Randy Savage fan. So since Lanny was as close as I could get to Macho Man Randy Savage, being around him, I kind of always booked Lanny Poffo for the majority of Great North Wrestling events between 2007 and 2012. Then at that point in time, he wasn't wrestling as much and the quality of his matches weren't as good. Sometimes he would put out a great effort in his matches. He very rarely, I don't think he ever actually wore the Genius gimmick to one of our shows for whatever reason. He had a massive fanny pack. I remember that. He was reliable as far as always being on time, always ready to go. If I scheduled an interview for him, media is always very important for independent shows. He would always do his media appearances. Where we ended up having the falling out, most people think it was the backstage incident. And as I reported in the video that you can find the link in the description, that wasn't actually where we had the falling out. That video didn't even come out until like 5 years after it happened, because it was originally intended for a documentary, but they never used it in the documentary. But where we had the falling out is my first 3 shoot interviews were the 2 classic ones I had with Honky Tonk Man, the 3-hour one that has over 3 million hits, the Billy Graham one, and the Lanny Poffo one. We recorded those in 2012. They didn't get released until like 2016-ish. On the Hannibal TV because they were originally supposed to be for DVD release. But the person that I had record those interviews for me, who I no longer have any association with, and I won't mention their names, didn't actually do the job that I hired him to do. He never actually made the DVDs, and he withheld the footage of the Honky Tonk Man, Billy Graham, and Lanny Poffo 3-hour shoot interviews I did, to the point where I actually had to legally get that footage back. Billy Graham and Honky Tonk Man signed affidavits stating that that footage was taken from me and the guy had no right to be withholding the footage, and I had paid for that footage, so it was mine. But where Lanny and I had the falling out is Lanny would not sign an affidavit saying that I owned the footage of his 3-hour shoot interview I did at that same time. So I put a lot of effort into that interview. It was by far the best shoot interview Lanny Poffo ever did. He even commented on the Stephanie McMahon situation with his brother, but it will never see the light of day because Lanny Poffo would not sign an affidavit for me to obtain that footage, and that's unfortunate. But since that time, he's also when I was working with him, he was on bad terms with WWE. Since his brother passed, I'm sure he's made several deals with WWE related to his brother being in the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if Lanny gets the royalties from WWE of Macho Man or not, but he's in a different place now. Do I hold a grudge against him? No, I was just disappointed that shoot interview was never released when I put a lot of effort into it, and I was very proud of it. But whatever, that's his choice. And yeah, I didn't want to use him again because of that whole situation. I'll answer a few of your questions. Sinbad says the smashing machine related to Mark Kerr. Of course, we are on Instagram and Twitter at the Hannibal TV. Mick Foley, overrated. That's my thoughts on him. Mike says Lanny Poffo's a joke. Did I see Abyss is in WWE now? He's been working for WWE for a long time now. The Rye Dog says Kamala versus George the Animal Steel was awesome. We do have a second YouTube channel, Devin Nicholson. It's my personal YouTube channel. I am also streaming my live shoot interviews on that channel, and that second channel is just for full shoot interviews. It's not for shoot interview clips. So I highly suggest you guys check that one out. David likes the up and down cross on my forehead. What's the upside down cross on my forehead? I don't have any upside down cross on my forehead. I did in the promo that I did about Cody Rhodes, that I've had a lot of great feedback from through wrestling legends as well as wrestling fans. And I'm actually going to put out a compilation video in the coming days of videos fans have sent me related to that match. Hurricane Moon says the segment of me almost breaking Lanny Poffo's arm in the locker room was great. Had me believing. That's rare these days. The clips of that have over 1 million views. It's pretty cool. He also didn't like that, even though it's the most entertaining thing he did in recent memories. Mike DeLeo, Giant Gonzalez in the Hall of Fame. Well, he was in more main events when he was feuding with The Undertaker than Coco Beware ever was. Big Richard doesn't have much respect for Lanny. Mike says Lanny's a loser. Would I ever interview Valerie Loureda? Yes, I would. I'm actually working on that. I'm very impressed with her. DVSMYK, has AEW management reached out to me? Well, we did just put out that video yesterday, and it already has almost 10,000 hits. So we'll see if they do. I am close with some people in that company. The ball's in their court, whether they do it or not, or whether they just want Cody to look like a coward. It's totally up to them. The General of Determination, I did interview Carlito to answer your question, and it was one of the top 3 worst shoot interviews I ever did. He went through 3 pages of questions in under 20 minutes. What's up with my forehead? Watch my promo on Cody Rhodes. Big Richard says Cody Rhodes is too scared. So anyways, again, I've seen Lanny at conventions. We no longer talk. And yeah, that's the end of Lanny and I. Richard Mins, what promotions do I like now for wrestling? I can't say I like really any of them. I like watching the old school stuff on YouTube. The whole point of the Cody Challenge is me wrestling Cody would be a good match, be probably the toughest match he ever had. It would boost my viewership on this channel for sure. I already have almost 130 million total video views. That AEW exposure would get my views up. One match. Let's see who the better man is. That's what I would like to see. Hurricane Moon says Lanny versus Black Machismo Jay Lethal was entertaining. Lanny looked real bad. One of these guys that clings on to being a legend. It's funny, for anyone that remembers the video of our backstage fight, which was filmed 10 years ago now, he says in that video, I'm too old to be doing this shit. And 10 years later, the lockdown may have screwed it up, but he had matches planned this year before the lockdown. Have I interviewed Ric Flair? No, I actually asked Ric Flair to do an interview with me at a convention when there was literally nobody around. And he looked at his wife, and the wife kind of shook her head no, and he said sorry. So that's the extent of that. I still like Ric Flair. But yeah. So again, thanks for all your questions. Let me know who you want me to do a discussion on next. I've had a lot of requests for Vader. Sean Woods says Lanny performed as the Genius maybe 2 times on TV. Don't feel bad he didn't use the gimmick. Well, he did beat Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event as the Genius. So he passes the Coco Beware bar for that. Lanny, in my opinion, should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Macho Man was going to hold out until they inducted Lanny, his father, and Macho Man as a family. As Lanny talked about in that interview that'll never come out now. But unfortunately, he didn't hold out, and who knows if they'll ever put him in. But they put Mike Von Erich in the Hall of Fame. So if they're going to induct Mike Von Erich, why not induct Lanny Poffo? At least he had an 8-year WWE career. And yeah, I'm not saying Lanny wasn't entertaining. He played the effeminate villain very well. And I like his poetry too, by the way. Don't think I'm hating on Lanny. I think he's talented. I definitely think he's talented. I'm just disappointed when you look at that 3 million plus shoot interview I did with the Honky Tonk Man, 3 million plus views. The Billy Graham one, almost at 1 million from that same time. Lanny could have had one like that, but for whatever reason, he didn't want me to put it out. And it'll never see the light of day. So it's unfortunate, but he was talented, and I do like his poetry. So follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I also post videos on Instagram, and if you follow me back at Twitter, at the Hannibal TV or at Devin Hannibal, just direct message me, and I'll follow you back. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of UFC.